Shazon Demban Devaration, Jiden Kemba, Jivon Deva, Kano Java, Sadam Menanje, Masanje Jumden, Bejawa, Shaja, Tuvala, Sazen, or Shudo Jam, Dumba, Jumden, and the Shavandra, what I Shazon Demban Devaration, Jiden Kemba, Jivon, Sadam Menanje, Sanje Jumden, Bejawa, Shajan, Tuvala, Sazen, or Shudo Jam, Kanze Ganyan Zowa Jadam Saya, Sajan, and Aniji den den no joja so deze gewa jama sa namda gunga jodo so wa yi shi ja so se je cha ban je den so na la me go go bo chon ye jama cha chen jo den ba chen men da we je san do na wa jama cha de je jan da se ba so ma je nya me chen je jama cha wo bo tu je je den ba tam je chen be den ba bo so no me ye de ni shin sha ma cha je ma ta ben de sha cha ge we me Chile the Namajoga was Shinjuja Maza, Jenna, Lavata Lara, the Ne, Shingadamba, Genjamaya, the Vajia, Meja Jingawa, Ponzo, so by Ranges and Tena Sanja Damba, Gamma, Mama, Yamazu, Melon Lada, Jenda, when the Jation on the Sonam Dia. Commando Nejin, other than Gada, Nada, Chiva. Sives on and one Jovaration.
To the teacher, the blessed one, the one communion, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened, perfect in knowledge, the conduct, Sugat, over, supreme God nations today, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the shattered land. I prostrate my offerings before your feet. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one from beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugat and overall, supreme light of beings within, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the shattered land. I prostrate my offerings before refuge. To the teacher, the blessed one, the one from beyond, the full destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugat and overall, supreme God of beings to name, teacher of gods and humans, to you the completely and fully awakened one, the blessed one, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the shattered land. I prostrate in your offerings and go for refuge. When I stream among humans, you are all on this earth. You placed out 7 strides that said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise then I prostrate. With the pure body's form, extremely pure, with the motion like golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, we know the best, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior in great compassion, the teacher having all understanding, the field of made with qualities like vast ocean. To you, the one come to darkness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachments, the virtue which frees one from the lower ranks, the one path, the sublime pure reality. To that Dharma which pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show a path to liberation, the holy field qualified realizations, while the devoted to the moral existence, to you the sublime community and the virtue I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star in the rise of flame of the lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning or cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits, may sentient beings attain rank of all seeing, subdue the four faults, and be delivered from motion of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death.
Sanje Jana Zoja Jana Chanju Bandon Dani Janju Dagin Jazoja Sono Dola Benje Sanjan Jobasho Sanje Jana Zoja Jana Chanju Bandon Dani Dagin Jazoja Sono Dola Benje Sanjan Jobasho Sanje Jana Zoja Jana Chanju Bandon Dani Jazoja Dagin Jazoja Sono Dola Benje Sanjan Jobasho.
Go for refuge and to enlightenment to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge and enlightenment to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge and enlightenment to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Yere Pumanda Yana, Jedan Juba Jendo, Kevin Kede Pumanda, Senior member, Dani Yobamana, Dagi Yobamana, Dada Dagi Demayan, and Zemayan Zemega, Dan Yobamana, and Zemayan Zemega, Kangaton. Now the children Yadama, Dada the Vinyan, Yawan and Bagaji, let on your most seven, let on your Mondo, Tetajo, the Jovan, Tomani, Awaji. Damage and the Sanjan and the Dada, American Java Chow, Simji Juyan Dobezo, Majapa, Chunin, and the Sung, Tamja Yanda Yanda, Yanda Yanda, Manini, Yanda Mimi, and the Tennis and Jejada Machine, Jemishivana, Giovanna, Jamadu, Nondo Medan, Senior, Teleshama, my agent, the Jim and the Sanjin Jedan, Temple to Tunjamanya Tadam and Shabamanya, Sanjana, and then of the seven. Rasanji, and Dambam and the Rabbi Gay and not a church of the Kangi and Kango over the general law, the Yeshinia, payment on the charts. So right now I'm reading the Fernando's translations. So with this has been completely explained all that can exist to cause and effect sensations together with object of sensations, extra, who sees the visible things because they do not remain, because they are admitted in one in relation to the another, because they are inferred, because they cannot admit as a substance, because they do not exist. The three times do not exist, they are only in idea.
What is Stanzas?
So number 29 and 28. Get another you got to just see this. So so now this is so in the Prasangika school, the concept of the cause and effect and so Judan, Jivudan, and feelings, and one who feels or the feel, and seeing and
what you see. So there are many kind of, you can divide it, you can divide things in many ways, like object to see and then seer, and what you smell and the smellers, listen and listeners, cause and effect. Now this was saying is not because of there are many things that exist by the object themselves. Rather, it is language and concept as a distincted or kind of conceptually divided phenomena. Conceptually through the language and conception. So and then the and the similar the three times, past, the present, the futures. So they are also conceptually distincted, separate phenomena, like past, present, and the futures. Because saying that, so I think in the sutra, in the Buddhist scriptures, Buddha says that, so there is some kind of illusion-like form or illusion-like aspect. So yes, Buddha says, yes, there is illusion-like form or illusion-like aspect. And therefore, there is the meaning or the object for the expressions. So there's a meaning or the object for the expressions, something to express, or this is favorable, this is unfavorable, or this is the cause, this is the effect, or that is the past, this is the present. So there's a meaning or the object of the expressions is there, is undeniably there. So therefore, that meaning is also, object to confuse and object to attach, object to detach. And then those meaning, when you try to, when you try to apprehend or comprehend the meaning, and the meaning is, tends to disappears. When you analyze, and meaning is no longer there. But so there's some kind of meaning, therefore you can express, you can confuse, you can attach, you can angry with. So the way that meaning existing is in the little way, or in the tiny way it exists. So how its tiny way exists? For example, there is the past. So that the past is the object for the expressions. What is past? Object for expression, expressing the time. So that past is also object to confuse. That past is also object to attach, object to detach. Now, the very past that you confuse and you express and you attached, the past, then you say, if you try to identify it, what is that past? And say, so first you can say it is the time that already passed. So which means, is this the thing that has passed, or the past of that is also a past? Like it. So today, the Friday, the Thursday is past. So the past of the Thursday is the time, or the Thursday itself which is past, therefore it is time. So two questions, right? Thursday itself, it is the time, therefore it is past, or the past of the Thursday is the time, not the Thursday. Thursday is no longer existing, so therefore how can it be time? Thursday is not exist, right? Thursday is not exist, therefore it cannot be a time, cannot be existence. And now say the past of the Thursday is the time, not the Thursday itself. So which means the past of the Thursday hasn't passed when the Thursday is only ceased to exist. So which means the past of the Thursday only exists when the Thursday being ceased to exist. So now that is your expressions, objectable expressions. That is the thing that you can remember, you can attach, you can detach. So if this is the meaning, the aspect that is for the expression, and that the past of the Thursday is no longer part of the Friday, it is also not belongs to the Thursday. And it cannot be remain existing between Thursday and Friday. So, and only you can, see it existing is, and you just construct through the projection, and you can conceive, you can identify the past of Thursday conceptually through the fabrication you can understand. So that's why I say that the meaning, the past of the Thursday is illusion-like existence. Similarly, the futures, the future, the future of the Saturday, arising of the Saturday. So arising of the Saturday is no longer, it is not the Friday, and it is also not the Saturday. Coming of the Saturday is not a Saturday, right? If the coming of the Saturday is a Saturday, and then arising of the sprout is the sprout. Then you say, coming of my next life, right? Coming of my next life. So there is many things can be, many possibilities. So my next life as an elephant, my next life as a human being, my next life as a squirrel, right? So if these are the next life as an elephant is elephant, and it's substantial. It's substantial, it's already there. And how can this be the future? Any reason, how can this be yet to come? It is elephant. Right? So which means the coming of the elephant is not the elephant. So coming of the elephant is also not in the cause of the elephant. So the coming of the elephants is never really, can prove to be existing as an elephant or as the cause of the elephant. So it's unfindable, but it is assumed to be existing. It is made up to be existing through the letters, the languages. So your time of the future existing is just conceptually, So that's why that only the one reason it exists is through the language and the concept. And there's many reasons it is not existing. It's not exist as an elephant, and the coming of the Saturday is not existing as a Saturday, not the Friday, right? So if not Saturday, not Friday, what kind of day it is, which is coming, right? So in this way, you can negate, you can refute the existing of the coming of the Saturday So, but because of this, Friday is disintegrating. Every sign of the disintegration of the Friday indicates the coming of the Saturday is possible, right? So when there is no coming of the Saturday, and there will not be a Saturday, right? When there is no coming of the Friday, and there is no Friday. So that proves that, it's almost like it forces you to believe, it forces you to accept, yes, the coming of the Friday is a time. But you cannot really identify or cognize, is it the real Friday, or it is not a day at all. So there is the meaning for expression. There's that very meaning is for the confusions and attachment. The meaning, the existing of that meaning is only through language and concept. So in this way, even at the present time is remaining, existing, enduring is also, if you look into the time, there is nothing remaining, nothing enduring, nothing still. But through the language and the concept, conceptually measuring or conceptually projecting and the length of the time. So that the length of the time is only you can imagine, conceive, impose, right? So time do not collect. Now you can collect many apples together, or put together. You cannot collect the time like, where you collect the apples, right? So the time do not meet together. So there is no way in a substantial level you can collect or link many times together, but only in the imaginations, only in the term in the languages you can collect. 60 seconds is a minute, right? No seconds has ever put together, right? Seconds do not combine, right? So they're saying that, in this way, yes, the meaning for the confusions, attachment, meaning that is you are referring, it is favorable, it's not favorable, meaning that say is the coming, is not coming, or is it going, or it is the permanent, is not permanent, or meaning that is, it is the conditional, or it's not conditional. So all, essentially, it's just projected within the mind. So what you actually see, diversities of the meaning in your mind is displayed by the mind, projected by the mind. So this is why the Prasangika schools, nothing has, never really exists intrinsically, inherently, And then if you're not convinced, and number 30, stanza number 30 says, since the birth and permanence, distractions. I think this translation, I'm not sure this is really permanence or not. So since the birth and remaining and destructions, disintegrations, which means birth, disintegrating, remaining and disintegrations, or the birth or remain and die. So these three characteristics, through that, through these three characteristics, you can establish something is a conditional. So that three characteristics, the birth, I think this little bit, birth in the text, in the Tibetan, we say, Geda, never, jignamas. Gewa, never, jignas. So the gewa, is from the spelling, you can say, it is always as a future tense. Gewa means arising. Never means remaining. Arise, remain, and disintegrate. So these three characteristics are, through these characteristics, you can establish something is conditional. So something is conditional thing because it arises. Something is conditional things because they remain, they endure, they continues. And then something is conditional because it disintegrates. It's going to be cease to exist eventually. So through these three characteristics, you can establish something as a conditional thing. That very three characteristics also conceptually projected. So the arising is going to be born is only seen in your thought. Is arising. And then enduring or kind of remaining or continuing is also only in meta projections. And disintegrations or the cessation or the death is also kind of as a characters, is conceptually constructed. So when three characteristics, that way you can establish something as conditional things, is three characters themselves are mental projections. Therefore, anything you establish through those mental projections are also conceptually projected. So, which means anything that you touch, anything that you see, anything that you hear, smell, taste are conditional because they are arising, they remain, they disintegrate. So their arising and remaining and disintegration are mental projections. Therefore, form, sound, smell, taste, textures are still is form, sound, smell, taste, textures are saying that is conceptually constructed. Maybe it's not really easy because the Sotandika school, the mind-only school, we may argue that, how can you say this? We can only understand or the relation of the cause and effect, or relation of the cause and effect and the continuum, right? Or we can say understand, it is mental projection. But how can you, prove the form, sound, smell, taste are mental projections? This we can see. I can directly experience the sensor. So how can these are mental construct? These are not not only exist in thought, they exist in the substantial. And Prasangika school says, the form, sound, smell, taste, the way you think it is existing is through only three characteristics: arising, remaining, disintegrations. So arising, remaining, disintegration are mental projections. Therefore, arising of the form is mental projection. Remaining of the form is a mental projection. Disintegration of the form is mental projection. So what is not mental projection? And then the next step is saying that, form, sound, smell, taste, textures. Not only they are mental projection because of three characteristics, they are separation. They are being divided, distincted is also mental projection. So you say there's only little tiny way you can say yes, this exists, but in many ways you can find they are not really there. Do you understand it? Time to maneuvering. So the Prasangic school, I think you said, for example, here, the form means things that you can see through eye. Is the color and shape. The color and the shape is never exists, never exists apart from the light, apart from the eye sense power, apart from the form that light can hit on, right? So there is the element, the four elements, and there is the light and space and sense power, and they meet together and they create the color, right? So the color is not belongs to one part. Color is not there. Color is not in the light. Color is not in space. Not in the eye sense power. Color happen to be exists, from the interactions of the many factors together. So that is the one of thing. So if the color has no essence to be exist by itself, how can color be separate from the smell by itself? When the color could not exist by itself, how can color by itself be separate from the smell and taste and the textures? Right. So for now, number one, the color do not, exist separate by itself from the smell and taste and the textures. Color is not belongs to the space, light, elements, and eye sense power. And then second is, this is the idea of the arising of the color that is remaining, enduring, color that is disintegrates, are only understand through mental projections. So how can you, say that there's some kind of color that is substantially exists? Substantial means it exists by itself. So if the color do not exist, substantially by itself as an entity different from the smell and taste and textures, color has no ability to existing in being part of something. So which means color is constant, is created, is it existing is like illusion like existence, is like a rainbow like existence. So it has no any substantial property in there. So then the arising, their remaining is also a mental projection. Something is continuing is mental projection. So the Prasangic school says, yes, we can also agree the color is seen through your eye consciousness. Sound is here through the air consciousness. That does not really prove, color and the sound are substantial by itself. So I think, and sometimes we say the sound of the bell. Sound of the bell is also not a substantial by itself. It is not part of the tongue inside the bell, not the whole part of the bell. And it is not really, travel from outside of the bell, right? So it just, when the bell and the tongue touches, make a noise. So the noise, the sound is not intrinsic. So similarly, like in also scripture, they mention like rubbing the wood and create fires, produce the fire by rubbing, right? So, and that is also the fire that comes from two things, yeah. So yeah, when two things contact or the together and produce something, the third thing. So that is not really independent, not substantial. I think, yeah, for our mind, we constantly go back. Substantial means we already decided, preconceptions. We say substantial means something we can touch, we can smell. Right? So now here saying that the very definitions of the your substantial, that then it's supposed like a color, sound has supposed to be substantial. If the color is substantial and substance, physical, formed by itself, then why not it can, being separate or different from smell and taste and texture, right? So if the color is by itself being separate from the smell and taste and textures, and then, the color of the braid, color of the smell and taste and the texture also, should exist, in a separate location. They must locate in separately, because the color of the braid is not the smell of the braid. Texture of the braid is not the smell, not the color. So they, each of them, the color of the smell and the color of the braid and the color of the smell are substantially separate. So then, which means they are substantial, physically separate. Why they are not physically located in one place, in a separate place? I think that's the Prasanga school said this. This is why everything that you say or you think or you see, or you smell, essentially is construct. There are many, and they are single or singular and plural. It's all through the divided, divided or singular or the plural is all conceptually constructed. Yeah, so this is kind of like so since birth and the permanence, as a permanent, I don't think it's permanent. Remaining and the cessations, these three characteristics of the conditioned things do not exist. They don't really exist, substantially, or they do not exist as a separate. Arising is not independent from remaining. The remaining is not independent from the disintegrations. So then say, what if remaining, enduring is separate from the disintegration or the cessation? So then cessation has to be separate from, remaining or enduring. So then, only the impermanence is in the part of the disintegrations, not in the remaining. So the remaining has to be permanent. Impermanent is because of the disintegrations. If the disintegration only belongs to the impermanence only belongs to the disintegration, remaining belongs to the permanent. So then we have to say, until I'm dead, so I'm permanent. Right? So we all hold the green cards. It's the green card holder. So right now, green card holds deportations. So it's kind of like here saying that, if the disintegrations only and impermanence only in the disintegrations, and disintegration is different from the remaining, so the remaining has to be permanent. If the remaining is disintegrating, and remaining is not different from the disintegrations, because remaining is disintegrating, remaining is ceasing, remaining is in the process of cessation. So as a three characteristic is, as a plural or many, is conceptually is many. Right? The arising, remaining, disintegration as a three, or the plural or many, or the three is a conception. So because of this, what is conditions? So what is not conditioned, nothing exists. So if the conditions are conceptually, constructed phenomena, and unconditioned too is also, unconditioned conditions are only designated, but depending upon condition. If this is the condition, for example, when there's the condition, and you can find what is not condition, right? So, like from the barley seed and assembly of the corporate condition, what it conditioned is the barley sprout, not the rice sprout, not the orange. So orange become unconditioned. It's unconditioned is there. So when the weather is the condition, when the hot weather is the condition, so when there is no hot weather and become the unconditioned for something, right? So if the hot weather is the condition for the coconut tree, and then when the weather is cold, it is not a condition. So the and hot, cold weather not having coconut is unconditioned, right? So because of the unconditioned, and then something can be conditioned, right? So you want tomato, you want to plant tomatoes. If you plant onion, there is no tomato. So the onion seed is unconditioned for the tomato. So you have to find the right condition, right cause for the tomato. So from the unconditioned, it's created or constructed condition. From the condition, it's constructed unconditioned. So through the wisdom realizing emptiness is unconditioning afflictive emotion. So therefore, when you perfect the wisdom realizing emptiness, and the wisdom realizing continuously destroying the afflictive emotions, and then when totally cease all the afflictive emotion through the wisdom realizing emptiness, now this very wisdom realizing emptiness is unconditioned to produce afflictive emotion. So then, Arhat has unconditional the cessation, unconditional cessation of the suffering, right? Through the wisdom realizing emptiness, and continuously removing afflictive emotions and, reducing, weakening, and then, finally it will, eradicates the seed of the afflictive emotions and no longer can produce afflictive emotion. So therefore, in Arhat, in their mind, Arhat's mind, there is no condition for the afflictive emotion. So therefore you say, and this Arhat has gained unconditional cessation of the afflictive emotion. So the unconditioned is because of the condition. So the main point is, the Prasangika school says, it's just all played by the thought. You thought conditioned and unconditioned. It's almost like a black and white. So they are not any cause and effect. Favorable, unfavorable. So all are, relatively exist. Without one, there is no. Without unfavorable, there is no favorable. Without obstructive phenomena, there is no space. Without space, there is no obstructions. Without condition, there is no unconditioned. Without unconditioned, there is no condition. If there is no unconditioned, and one condition becomes the condition for everything. So from the barley seed, you can grow rice, tomato, orange, apple, mangoes, everything. If there is no unconditioned, right? If there's no unconditioned, then if you're born as a boy, and then maybe next day you become a girl, next day you can again boy and maybe if you look from the front, maybe boy, and from the side is girl, right? Because there's unconditioned, therefore he is boy, not a girl. From the unconditioned, is there's a dark, there's no light. There's a light, there's no dark. From the unconditioned, there's a day and night. Right. So Prasangika school says that even the conditioned and unconditioned is conceptually, constructed. So and then same thing, like you say mutual exclusive. The contradictories, like favorable and unfavorable is mutually exclusive, right? So still this is because they are mutually exclusive is based on two things, the dichotomy. So mutually exclusive is possible because the two things can be exclusive, day and night, light and dark. So if one is not exist, there is no mutually exclusive. The cow is being different from the horse, so that to existing for the differential of cow and horse, the both should exist. Without one, there's no differential. So if you like to be different, you have to have someone to, if there's no one, you cannot be different. If you take pride on being different, you have to have someone who is, opposite to you. So I think that's the Prasangika school says this, even the conditioned and unconditioned. So we always say cessation of the suffering is unconditional. So because it's unconditional, therefore, there's no cause and condition to change that. Like in an Arhat's mind, there is no afflictive emotions. the end of the afflictive emotions. So that end of afflictive emotion has no cosmic condition to change, to to reproduce the afflictive emotion. So therefore, there's no cosmic condition to produce to change that. So therefore, it's unconditional and it is to become permanent. The permanent impermanence is like that. So now here So, and number 31 is distractions does not exist for what has not yet been destroyed. Mashi Minjik, if you say remaining is not disintegrations, the remaining is not, remaining has no cessations. Because it is remaining, therefore it not ceased yet, therefore there is no cessation. Remaining is different from cessations, which means if remaining has no cessations, it's not ceasing, there's no past, which means the remaining has to be permanent. Anything that permanent cannot be disintegrated. And when this is remaining is permanent, and there will be no cessation. If today is because it's continuing, is remaining, it remain, until midnight, right? The Friday. So then you says, oh, this is remaining, therefore there is no cessation. Cessation will happen when the remaining is end. So in the conceptually, in the language, yes, this is like that. Remaining is not a cessation. There is no cessation. Cessation only happens when the remain has end. No more remaining. So which means you are interpreting remaining, interpreting to the permanent. Right. So remaining or enduring is why it's enduring. The why, morning 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock to the 10, and the 8, 9, 10. Because disintegration is a conditioning the remaining. Every hour that disintegrates, new hours happen. That is the remaining. So if this is the remaining, why not? There is cessation. So it's kind of like, if you think it is remaining, therefore it's not disintegrating or not ceasing, then, what remains is not going to cease to exist. And the cessations is also not going to cease. And what will cease? What will disintegrate? Right. For example, life, the life is not disintegrating. Death is also not disintegrating. And what is disintegrating other than that? So then you say, yes, the life is every hour, every minute, every second is disintegrating, but the continuity of that life is remaining. So when that continuity of the human life is ended, then we say it's death. But still, while you're living, there is a disintegration, there is past. So the distraction does not exist if you so nor does it exist for what has already been destroyed. So it does not exist for what has already endured. The permanent does not exist. either for what does not yet endure. Birth does, what has already been born, nor does it exist for what has not yet been born. Even when I read English, it's not making sense to me. so in Tibetan we say, Mashik Minjik Shibam means. Now here saying that what is disintegration? The first idea is what is disintegrations? And then you say, if you say, or disintegrations, when human life is end, and then there's disintegrations. So this is what I'm saying. So there's two options. If when you say the life is not disintegrating because it's living, and the death is disintegrating. So then says, so when do you see the death is dying or death is disintegrating, right? If death is not disintegrating, life is already not disintegrating. And what is disintegrating? Mashik Minjik Shiva means. So that this is one of the contradictory life in the death. If you divide disintegrations, if you see the disintegration only in the death, so then that is for sure it's not going to die, right? Because you say, because it's alive, it's living, it's enduring, it's happening, therefore it's not disintegrating. Then says for sure the death is not dying, disintegrating too. So then you have no disintegrations. So there is no impermanence. So from this contradictory, we says every hour is disintegrating, every minute is disintegrating, every minute and seconds and hours are passing, ceasing, So then the death is the end of that continuity, right? End of Friday, end of Tuesday, end of human life. So that is the cessations. Cessation is already happening from the birth. So the continuity only stops when it dies, right?
So impermanence will be the process of cessation.
So the here is saying, in our common, ordinary, and mundane perceptions, a mundane perspective, saying life and death is, life and death, we see is independent. We see independent. And then we ask, what is mean by death? The death is something had born and now gone. It disappears. It ceased to exist. Oh, if this is the death, then what happened to your youth? Has born once born and no longer found. It disappears. Your youth has died. It ceased, never coming back. And yesterday is born and it's already gone. So by defining that, it has existed once and no longer, found to be existing, if this is what you mean by death or the cease to exist or ended, so then this is already happening with each hours, each minute, each seconds. If this is the death, we are every day, every moment we die. Right. So then you have to find another definitions. to define what is the death. So then it says, death of a human life means continuity of you as a human being is end. So that is the death. And then we say, my death has not come yet. Right. So the life is only, defined through the death. So, yeah. So then it says, this is ordinary perspective. We see the cessation and the the birth and arising and the cessations. If we see it independent, then say it's not independent. Arising and cessation is not independent, and the remaining and cessation is not independent. Right? There's no independent. And then that proves arising, remaining, and independent as a two distinctive meaning. So distinctive meaning means language has distinct. Your language is having distinct these two meaning. So it's not because they are independent by themselves. So then it says, remaining in the cessation is from the language, from the concept, there are two. So there is no remaining in cessations intrinsically or by themselves as a two separate meaning. Like, like the color of the braid and smell of the braid is a separate because of nose and eye. It's not because of the braid by itself, So it's because with the eye and the nose, we find the smell of the braid is separate from the color of the braid, right? So not the braid by itself produces, color and the smell as separate. Otherwise, the braid has to move to produce the color, right? So it has to jump and to produce the color, or it just lie down and produce the smell, on tilted inside and then produce the textures. So the braid has to play in the plate on the table, So that's separate because of two subject. Therefore, there is two object, right? So in a similar way, remaining and disintegration is a separate because your conceptual, your language, right? So Manju Minji Shibang. And then the second is never mindedness. So I think he always translates the prominent. I don't know why he. So here, the first he says, does not exist for what has already endured. Does not exist. Never mindedness. Never. What has enduring. What is enduring is the there is no cause and condition to cause and condition for enduring. So I think here saying, for example, the remaining enduring, the duration of the Friday. So duration of the Friday has any cause and condition to endure, to remain, to hold. So every hour is disintegrating, right? Every minute is consumed by the seconds, hours consumed by the minutes, right? The whole day is consumed by the hours. So if the seconds, the minutes, and the hours are consuming, destroying the Friday, and what is the cosmic condition that holding it to be remaining? If there is no cosmic condition to hold to be remain, and how can this remain? If there's no remaining, how can this be present? So something which has lacked the cosmic condition to be remaining, how can it remain? So that's the kind of never mind this. Things that are already remaining or enduring and lacking its cosmic condition to be remain. And something that is not remaining at all has also lacking the cosmic condition to be remaining, therefore it's not remaining. Right? So, for example, the Friday is the present. Friday has no cosmic condition to remain. So therefore, there is no any cosmic condition of the Friday to be remaining, but there is the remaining. So then we say only options and what condition that you're seeing is remaining. Then we say conceptually from the language, we find Friday is remaining. So is your language and the concept can hold Friday to be remaining? We said no, but we can see it's remaining. Right. So it's So that's why it's a conception. So the Friday and like for example, a rabbit horn, both has no cosmic condition to be remaining. Both lacking the cosmic condition to remain. So when there is no remaining in rabbit horn, the Friday too have no cosmic condition to be remaining. They both lacks the cosmic condition remaining. And in what condition and what force you see the Friday is remaining? And then we say it's the language. This is how we create, So the Friday is not end yet. And why Friday is not end yet? Because we assume, we kind of, we measured Friday conceptually until midnight is a Friday. That's why we find the Friday is remaining. So if we say if whole world decided the whole month is the Friday, and then we can also see the Friday is remaining for 30 days. So it's not because of the Friday itself, because the Friday is lacking the cosmic condition to remaining. So if Friday is lacking, but we can measure, we can create, right? So this whole month is the Friday. So then we can see the Friday is remaining. So it's not the Friday has the cosmic condition to remain, right? So the present is because of your thought. So thought because of your languages, So what has already endured, I think he keeps saying the permanence idea. Permanent does not exist either. What does not yet endured so never mind them, never mind. And then the Keba begins. The bird does not birth does what has already been born. And then the birth does. So which means things that already have born, already arisen, is not arising. Unarisen things do not arise too. So then what is the arising that intrinsically exists? Arisen things, conditioned things, arisen things are not arising, unarisen are not arising. So almost like, Nagarjuna saying, what force you to see, in what condition you see something is arising. There is no way you can find things that is already has born, has no activity of arising, and unborn has no arising. And where is that arising that you see? Are you seeing ghosts? So you said, yes, the ghost that we created, the ghost in our mind says, yes, there is arising. So I think this one's very powerful. No cosmic condition to keep it remaining. But you see in your mind it is remaining. So within the base of the present, there is no remaining, but you impose it is remaining. So therefore, once you impose is remaining, that reflects in your mind, and then you you express there's the remaining. So this is why the Nagarjuna says, therefore I'm saying remaining is conception. Right? If there is the cosmic condition to be remaining, then it is worth to worship that. So if there is the cosmic condition for us to be remaining, and we can, do puja to the cosmic condition, please keep it for me another 10 years. So you like apple, I offer apple. You like incense, I offer incense. So there is no cosmic condition. So then the number 32 is, what is condition and what is non-condition are, not nor unity. Yeah. So this is not really not or nor unity. So when you read Dujedan Dumaje Tumamai, so condition and unconditions are not one or not many, which means
the Christian witness translation is comparative and non-comparative are not many and not one.
Or the another translation, yeah. So we have to pick from this. So we need third translations. Some are good in here, and then this.
I think we should do our.
Would unity be many or unity?
Composite or conditional. Composite Composite means, something that is composed through many cosmic conditions, composite phenomena. So the composite or non-composite, or condition or non-condition, are not one or not many. So as I mentioned, realization emptiness is the conditioning to attain the liberations, to become the arhat. That too, wisdom realizing emptiness is also, while it's composing or conditioning to become the arhat and liberation, at the same time it is unconditioning the afflictive emotion, to the arhat's mind. Is because it's destroying the cosmic condition for the suffering, in arhat's mind. It is producing arhat state, liberation, and it is also destroying the cosmic condition for the suffering in their mind. So the unconditioning and conditioning. So therefore, the condition and unconditions are not many or not one. So many is a conceptually. Essentially, there is no many, but conceptually, yes, there is many. Like the color of the braid, smell, taste, textures of the braid are many, is a conceptually. And essentially, is there the color, smell, taste, texture of the braid are not many. Right? If essentially many, and the braid has to produce separately. Right? So they are not, means they are not beings, they are not exist. So they are not exist as a many, they are not exist as a one or the singular. They are not exist and non-existing. Yumi means, is saying that yes, for example, condition and the unconditions are, they, not exist as, many by themselves, and they are not one. They are not one, they are not many by themselves. And then says, it is also not exist as a many, not exist as a many by themselves. So they are not exist as a one by themselves. Inside these extremes are completely comprehend these two aspects. I think he says insight. I don't know. What is in another translations? Composite and non-composite are not many and not one, are not being, are not non-being. Are not being and non-being, memes. All possibilities are comprised within this your letters, your languages, within this your concept. So as I mentioned, your language and your concept are the responsible for a diversity of the phenomena. Some there is in Tibetan.
You say?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. When we say they are not existent, they are not non-existent.
So first they said,
and then they say, and they are not either existent and non-existent. It is like a third possibility to be existent and non-existent.
because there's some school of thought, like Rabashika school, this is self, the person is not a permanent like non-Buddhist school, not the impermanent. And then says it's inexpressible, inexpressible, substantial. Inexpressible means I cannot express it. This is impermanent. So if I say it's impermanent, then I have to accept there's the end of the self. So it is. I'm not going to say it is the permanent. Otherwise, I belong to non-Buddhist school. So I cannot really, because which means I'm confused. So now I have to create my own comfort zone and say, oh, I'm going to say it, I'm going to call it inexpressible substantial. So in this way, some school, and particularly in the, some Tantrayana practitioners, some of them, they say, have this kind of saying that Buddha says in Heart Sutras, there's no smell, no taste, no textures, no eye, no nose, no tongue. So I cannot go against that. And also I'm not comfortable saying there's no I at all. So I'm still in between. I'm not a non-existent, not an existing. So some create this, because they have to. Because in other words, there's no they feel like they totally annihilate. So they don't want to fall in annihilations, and they also try to not to fall on eternalism. So then they create their own comfort zone. So the yumimi means not a non-existent, not an existence.
So not this one, neither this one.
Yeah.
There's something else is in.
So I cannot describe that. Inexpressible, indescribable. So if you cannot decide anything, you cannot decide, which means you haven't really realized that. You haven't, there's no discernment, right? Discernment. So there's no realization. So they don't want to, they don't want to say, I have not realized it. So this is,
It's a mystery.
Yeah, it's a mystery. It's a miracle.
Beyond our understanding.
Yeah. So there are many people, some masters, this kind of, because they cannot say it, I don't really understand it. Because they think they have studied, so many years. And now I should reach in some level that I understand. But when I explain, I could not really, express what I know. So that's where there's a middle, Yumime means. This was very strange. Maybe even those during the Nagarjuna, there are some master is still in that kind of dilemma. There's ambiguities. They think this is the final. So now Nagarjuna says, condition and unconditions, permanent, impermanence, and the cause and effect. So, and the color, smell, taste, textures. There's not, essentially there are not many, right? Essentially there's not many. They do not exist as a many, right? So and now what is left is Nagarjuna is not going to say, I'm in the middle. Nagarjuna says, is conceptually, subjectively, it is created as a many. So that the manys are the subjective many. Like color of the braid and smell of the braid as a two, right? It's not essentially or from the braid side but it's rather from the true subject, true I consciousness, nose consciousness, therefore it is separate. Right? So it's not like existing and non-existing. Yes, from the braid, there is no many, even there is no many color, smell, taste, textures, but from the five sense faculty, and there's a many, there's a many as a color, smell, taste, textures. So it's kind of subjective. Objectively, there's nothing. So which means essentially not a many, but subjectively, yes, it is many. So I think, so what is the point they're trying to kind of, trying to make is, because in the ordinary mind, when it confused, thinking that, oh, this is my hand, this is my thought, this is my feeling. And then you think, me as a one single and having many. Like when you say, this is my cat, this is my dog, and this is my cow, and you have many, substantially. So when same thing, you also see not much difference, like, having cow, dog, and, pigs, and many things. So, oh, I have feeling, I have thought, and I have smell and taste and textures. So you all see them, things that, oh, you are substantial and you are having many substantial. So that is, you see in the many, in the confusional level. Because that's where you see yourself in having many in the misconception. When you are not substantial, how can you have many things in substantial? Right? So, so you also see me and my body and me in my car. There's not much difference in your mind. So the car and you, independent. But you and your body is not independent. But you see it's exactly the same. So then you say, yeah, I can change my, I have a, how's that? I can change my kidney. I can change my liver. So I'm independent. That's that proving and convincing to you that, oh, I'm independent from the body. Sometimes you say, oh, he changed my feeling. He changed my life. So that your life and yourself is always independent. Like your life is like your cat. So this is why saying that many or the plural or the singular is all, in the projection of the mind. Now, at the same time, the essentially or the substantially, the absence of many, in the color, smell, taste, texture of the braid is ultimate truth. Essentially, there is no me and my body as a two separate thing, is the truth. So we need to understand, what we need to realize is, yes, me and my body as a two separate is a conceptually, but ultimately there is no me and my mind, my body as the two. So we need to understand that. So we don't need someone to teach us me and my body is two separate. We can automatically understand that the separations of you and your body is more clear when you understand essentially you are not separate from body, different from the body. You are not one with the body, you are not different from the body. So then you say, if you are not different from body, you are not one with body, and what you are. So you cannot be different from the body because you are not outside of the body, you are not inside of the body. You are not around the body. So how can you be different from it? How can you see it's different? When you see the horse around the cow, you can see the different, right? You can see the table around the chair, you can see the different. But you are not there in the body, you are not outside of the body, you're not on the top of the body or below the body, beyond the body. So when you are not around there, and how can you be, seeing is different. So the only you can see is different is out of misconception. So yeah, so number 30, yeah, maybe. So the Bhagavan has said that the actions subside. Chumdian Lama Lene. Subside. Subside means
Subsist.
subsist.
Sort of like exist.
Yeah,
Let me check.
subsist. Bhagavan said the action subsist. The master has said that the action have their own fruit, that the action belongs to each living being, and that the action do not perish. Now it's kind of the arguments. The Prasangika school says there is no such things, that intrinsically exists. And then says, and the Bhagavan say many times, there is the karma. There's the karma that, follows you, that karmas that lead you, to the next life, that karmas that follow you to, to reward you or to punish you. So Bhagavan says, you may die, your belonging may disappear, no longer belongs to you when you die. Even your body, will abandon you, but your karma follows you. This is what Buddha says. So now says this essential school saying, so you are saying nothing intrinsically exists. When the Buddha says the karma is the one that remains, you die, your belonging will, no longer part of you, or no longer belongs to you, but the karma will go with you. And so then it says that means the Buddha is saying the karma is they truly exists, is intrinsically exist. So then we say, if the karma is truly exist, intrinsic means action that exists, action that defined as a virtue and non-virtue by the action itself. So which equal to in the Prasangika school, which equal to, it is independent. The independent equal to the permanent. And Buddha also says that karma are impermanent. Karma can be purified. Karma can be cut. Right? Karma can be paralyzed sometimes, So karma being impermanent and intrinsic is, contradictory, right? If karma is intrinsic and independent and it is impermanent, it's not possible.
The idea of karma existed before Buddha taught this. It's from Vedic tradition, karma was already there.
And you mean the term karma?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. So it's, even in the local language, they always say every action, work is the karma. So it's my duty, it's my karma. So the action is the karma from the language.
But the concept of karma comes from Hinduism.
Yeah, maybe you can say Hinduism, but it's from the language. Actually, it is from the language. Because the karam is the action, work, job. So then the karma and the kind of religiously, created as the term for the, negative karma, positive karma. So something that can bring the result and consequences. I think it's not just the Hindu, even the Hindu, maybe 3,000 years. The Ramayana, the Bhagavad Gita, the Ramayana is it seems like, after the Buddha, the story was kind of mouth to mouth. There is a story of the, and then I think Tulsidas this, after the Buddha. So he started writing it down with poems, many things. But he himself was very, very devotees, devotion towards the Ram. So he wrote it down. So even that before the language, they always from the language the karma is become the karma. So dharma. So dhara and the dharma. So dhara is to hold, keep, and then put additional letter ma. So dharma, So which means is the dhara is hold, and then editing one letter dharma. So now it says that it indicates the agent, what holds it. So it's the dhara is to hold, and dharma is what holds you. So my positive actions keep me from negative consequences. my negative actions hold me to throw in negative consequences. Right? So if dara is just a verb, is holding, and dharam is what holds you. So positive active actions hold you from negative consequences. Right? So adharam, say the opposite of adharam, is release you, throw you in negative consequences. So it's the language, is the first from the language, then and how to say a religious term, terminologies. Then later on there we see so many things, yeah, and especially those Brahmin castes. I think their studies, intellectuals, and most of them they use to propagate their own castes, So everything they learn from Buddhists, Nagarjunas and me. So they just always use it to sustain for the caste tradition. But I haven't really, read or studied. So there's one particular Brahmin caste kind of, particular scriptures that is all is about to kind of, how's that? To protect the caste system. Yeah, sometimes it's very kind of, it's very strange, the human emotionalists, because when they have this much, effort and diligent to protect the caste systems, but when poor Brahmin, they neglect. The Brahmin caste, they try to protect. If the one of the Brahmin is very poor and they don't really care much, So this kind of, the kind of like Republican. So if they have really care of the Brahmin caste, they find it's very precious, their lineage. And whoever is born in that lineage, they should protect that. This is the birthright, they're born. Maybe they haven't asked their grandmothers, are they pure or not? They have to bring the grandmother to the court. So, can you swear you're
Yeah, it is like the monarchies in Europe, that the aristocracy, the only ones that they accept that about the aristocracy is them, because nobody is even like nothing different. But they think that they are like we are the aristocracy. I am the king of Spain. I'm sure that the present king of Spain, I'm sure he knows I am playing to be the king, but I'm sure he doesn't agree that he really has been chosen by God to be the king of Spain. That would be too crazy.
That's, it's very, very strange.
Yeah, this is very interesting.
So the Arya there was, and is 400 stanzas. it's kind of he divided, like at that time, the religion, the Hinduisms, Jainisms, Buddhisms. So either says the Hinduism is like, the sound practitioners. They can, recite the mantra in Sanskrit. So it's their attention is to attract people by verbally, sounding the Sanskrit in a way. And then there's the Jainism is they're attracting, people they find their pity. They're naked and they no shoes, they just walk. And people are poor men. Now there's the Buddhism is seeking liberations. Anyway, yeah. So some things, yeah.
Hinduism didn't see Buddhism like something very dangerous for their establishment.
Yeah, I don't really see from my own side, many of the Hindus people have not much, they don't see it like black and white Buddhist and Hindu. The only in those eye of the Brahmin. So Brahmin people, they think the Hindu is their property. So in the old time, even the kings and the ministers or lay people, they have no right to touch their scripture. Not only reading it, they cannot go closer and touch it. So if they study, maybe they become much knowledgeable than so they want to see that, So this is their property. So the problem is these caste systems, not the Hindus' religion or the Hindu practice.
What Buddha Siddhartha did was against all the rules.
Yeah, Buddha also against the caste system.
Everything.
Yeah, caste system. So Buddha actually followed those Hindu masters. He, took the instructions of meditations, right? Many meditations. He practiced. He completed all their so or their knowledge, whatever the master can teach, Buddha can instantly, understand and practice. And Buddha still says it's not really, it's not helping me what you want. So it's not liberating the mind, but it's helping. So Hindu is very, very profound and very, I would say, practical and very positive. Yeah, okay. Chanju Simja Rembo Jama Yebana Jeju Jevanya Bamba Kondo Pyo Tonya Dawa Rembo Majebana Jeju Jevanya Bamba Kondo Pyo Pama Simja Damja Danda Nendo Tabi Tato Don the Chanju Simba Kama Sushu Tata Guji Molam Jojo Karera Voko Vichino Panda de Wama Nunjo Jerezon Dinja Yeshabe Sidia Batu
May the
May the
precious
precious
body
body
mind
mind
get
get
born
born
and
and
rise
rise
and
and
grow.
grow.
May the bone of body mind please forevermore. May the precious mind realize the emptiness that get born and rise and grow. May the bone of body mind increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may your Father and blessings in the midst of all the happiness, and may your rest be empty forever. Wherever there are bodhisattvas, may all their affairs be accomplished in the end. In The sacred lands surrounded by small mountains. You are the source of all benefit and happiness. All powerful existence in the astral. Remain in this world until Sankara.
Thank you much.